Well, okay, did Joseph campaign? And the answer is no. He never leaves Nauvoo. And you'd say, well, wait a minute. He's running for president. He's got a party. He's got Sidney Rigdon as a vice president. He's got all these great things he would do as president, but he never leaves Nauvoo to campaign. So the question comes then, was he a legitimate candidate? I mean, you know, would he appear in New York papers, Washington, D.C., and you'd say, he's home in Nauvoo, and he's there until he heads in all the issues that get him into Carthage by June. However, something happens in March. On March 11th, 1844, so notice you're 3 months before his death, on March 11th, Joseph receives a revelation which is not in our Doctrine and Covenants. And I've always thought, wouldn't it be so interesting if it went in? For want of another term, they call it the political revelation. Now in this political revelation, it talks about what it will be like when Christ comes to rule and reign. So, okay, we know that Christ, when he gives the Lord's Prayer, it was, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. In other words, the kingdom of the Lord will come to the earth, and it will be one. It will be this most amazing theocracy. The result of this revelation is that Joseph forms a council called the Council of 50. Before Joseph's death, he had plans well underway to form a council called the Council of 40 and the Council of 30. So notice in the church we know of councils. We know of high councils, councils of the First Presidency, councils of the 12, council of the 70, and so Council of the 50. Who is in the Council of 50? You'd say Brigham Young is president of the 12, and guess what? Joseph makes him president of the Council of 50. And you'd say entrance into the church. Well, entrance into the church is baptism. Entrance into the Council of 50, you don't need baptism. So at one point, Brigham Young now goes to Joseph and says to Joseph that he wants to call men on political missions. Joseph says to Brigham, you're too quick. In other words, Christ has not come to rule and reign. And basically, Brigham then indicates, but we got a pilot program. Joseph, you're running for president. I mean, what would you think if I called men on political missions? At which point, Joseph laughed and he said, well, why don't you bring me a list of anybody who'd like to volunteer, and I'll look over that list and see if I could, in essence, spare them from Nauvoo. So you'd look and you'd say, well, okay, why isn't Brigham Young with Joseph Smith and Hiram when they're killed in Carthage? Brigham Young right here, he's serving a mission in the greater Boston area. He's held amazing rallies. His companion is Wilford Woodruff up here. And so why isn't Wilford in Carthage? Well, Wilford is serving a political mission with Brigham Young. Brigham on that mission will discover that Wilford keeps a daily journal. And Brigham, who only had 11 and a half days of school, it's with some irony that the whole BYU system is named for our prophet, has spent the least amount of time listening to somebody like me, but okay. So Brigham discovers that Wilford Woodruff keeps a daily journal, and Brigham says to Wilford, you'll never leave my side again. Remember, Brigham is president of the 50, president of the 12, and Brigham then says to Wilford, one day the Lord's going to ask me to bring forward my journal, and I want you to do it for me. And George does that for me. I'm so grateful. Okay, you'd say, well, at the death of Joseph, where's Orson Hyde, our man that had dedicated Jerusalem? He's on a mission, political mission in Washington, D.C. His companion is Orson Pratt, a man above. Parley P. Pratt, he's on a political mission in Illinois. William Smith, he's on a political mission in Michigan. So, who are the only two men of the 350 plus names? Joseph looks down the list, he goes, yep, Brigham, you can go, okay, you know, this one go. There's only two I need to stay behind with me. Can you name them? John Taylor, Willard Richards, who's with Joseph when he's shot in Carthage jail, the only two members of the 12 not serving political missions. So why does he want these two to stay? Willard Richards, Joseph said, I've been looking for you all the days of my life. You're better than any brother I've got. and Willard Richards was his personal secretary. Joseph is writing his history. What's John Taylor? John Taylor, he's your newspaper man. He's running the Times and Seasons, Nauvoo Neighbor, and he's taking whatever Willard Richards described, and he's setting it into print and printing it. In the meantime, okay, try and imagine if you were running for political office, maybe even back in high school when we all ran for something, and you had one Wilford Woodruff on your team. You know, a man that goes to England on his first mission there. He's there 36 days. He's already baptized 600 people, including 2 spies sent from the Church of England and a constable that came to arrest him. What are your chances of being elected? You know, and they are holding rallies in Philadelphia and Washington and Boston, in New York City. There are thousands and thousands coming. Okay, try and imagine. Would you come to listen to political campaign people talking about General Joseph Smith, and he's an expansionist? He will solve your financial problems with this kind of play money you've been messed up with for years. He will solve, you ever had your dad in prison because of failure to pay debt? Hey, we got somebody that's going to solve that. I mean, can you see that? Then what they would do, these political missionaries, eventually there were over 1,100 of them. And they're fanned out to the 26 United States. John Taylor, as a newspaper man, he masterminds the whole thing. He's just a genius. Well, okay, so what these men do, they will hold a rally, and then they would cut out of the newspapers. So newspapers were always your medium of choice. They would cut out of the newspaper the effects of the rally, how it was going, and they would send it to Joseph Smith. Meantime, remember, Joseph never leaves Nauvoo. He's here in his mansion house, and suddenly he's picking up letters, and he's going, I'm popular. He goes, I've never been popular. I know how to be persecuted. I don't know how to be popular. And then he's going, there's enough speaking ability out there. Try and imagine, he's taken farmers that have been serving as missionaries for year after year after year, and they're bringing people in droves. He's saying there's enough speaking ability out there. Joseph says, I'm afraid I'm going to be elected. Finally, he goes, you know, they are doing such amazing work out there, and they're spreading that General Joseph Smith for president. He said, I think I'm going to win on the first electoral ballot.